Sherrod Brown and Jon Husted on transgender people in sports and the use of public bathrooms. So here's this big table that I made, and in it we're going to focus in on just these two rows. If you want to know about the rest of this big giant table, I'll link you in the video description to my video on all of these LGBTQ issues and where our two Senate candidates stand on them. I'll also have links in the video description to definitions and explanations of these transgender issues if you're not familiar or you need to brush up on your knowledge. So starting with transgendered athletes. So to give a little definition here, transgendered athletes are people who participate in sports whose gender identity is different from the biological sex they were assigned at birth. So this can be transgendered women who were people assigned male at birth who identify as female now. This could be transgender men, people who are assigned female at birth and identify as male now. And it can also include non-binary or gender diverse people, so just other people who don't fit strictly into the traditional male or female classifications. Okay, so first on this, let's go to Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown really has had a long history of supporting the LGBTQ community. He views them as fellow humans who should have the same rights and respect as all of our other fellow humans. As such, Sherrod Brown has opposed bans on transgendered participation in sports. What he has said specifically is that politicians shouldn't be the ones deciding on sports participation. He has stated that athletic eligibility rules should, quote, be up to sports leagues, not politicians. He has also voted against laws and bills that would make schools and universities lose funding if they allow transgendered females into female sports. So it's interesting, in the transgender in sports discussion, nobody really cares about transgendered males in male sports. The focus always seems to be on transgendered females in female sports. Just a sidebar there. But anyways, Sherrod Brown does not want schools or universities to lose their funding if they allow transgendered females in female sports. A campaign spokesperson for Sherrod Brown has said, quote, he believes there should be a fair process in place for athletics and will always fight to make sure Ohio schools have the funding that they need. So again, it would appear that Sherrod Brown thinks that schools and athletic associations should decide how to handle transgendered athletes, and that no school or university should lose funding because of the choice they make. And it would appear he does not seem to appreciate government overreach into our schools and our sports. Okay, flipping over to Jon Husted. As our U.S. Senator representing Ohio, he has supported amendments to legislation that would have blocked transgender athletes from participating in women's sports. He has very clearly stated, quote, men should not compete in women's sports. And again, it's always a focus on transgendered women in women's sports, never really the other way around. Okay, and so flipping over to transgendered people and public bathrooms, in this arena, I'm talking about, quote, bathroom bills. And these are legislations or mandates that people have to use public restrooms, locker rooms, and changing spaces that align with their born biological sex rather than their gender identity. Sherrod Brown opposes bans on transgendered public accommodations. So when he was our U.S. Senator from Ohio, he was against a proposed rule that would allow single-sex homeless shelters to deny access to transgendered individuals or place them based on their biological sex rather than their gender identity. A quote from Sherrod Brown is, once again, the Trump administration has reached new levels of cruelty, advancing another housing rule that would undermine the humanity of transgender people and their ability to access shelter in times of need. He also went on to say, across the country, transgender people face discrimination and violence, including in my home state of Ohio, and the federal government should not advance a rule reinforcing the idea that transgender people's humanity and rights are second class. And then if we flip over to Jon Husted, in 100% opposition to Sherrod Brown, Jon Husted supports legislation and mandates that require people to use the bathroom, locker room, or changing room that aligns with the gender that they were assigned at birth. Jon Husted is quoted as saying, "It's unbelievable that we've reached a point where a law is necessary to ensure the safety of young women in school restrooms, but unfortunately, that's the reality right now in our society." All right, so that's that. You can see where Sherrod Brown and Jon Husted stand on transgendered athletics and transgendered people in bathrooms, changing rooms, and public accommodations. I have lots of links in the video description to transgender information, LGBTQ information, resources. I also have a link to my video that talks about more LGBTQ issues and where our candidates stand on them, as well as always links to Ohio voting information, voting registration, important voting dates, and all of that really good stuff.